Bonjour, willkommen and howdy, and welcome to the FARG Motorpool. Today we'll be looking at the vehicle which is behind me, and this is the Hotchkiss 106 SR. In this short video we'll have a walk around of this particular vehicle and we'll look at the differences between this and a standard or regular Hotchkiss M201. Let's have a look at the 106 SR. So the first thing to point out before we get to the vehicle is the gun caliber is actually 105, but it was called the 106R to save confusion when being used in the army. So it's 105mm caliber, recoilless gun, but the whole vehicle is called the 106. So let's have a look. We have a standard Hotchkiss Jeep underneath this added accoutrement that's been placed on the top. Standard engine, standard chassis. There are some slight differences if we come down to here on the front. Because the gun was quite a considerable weight in the back, then there needs to be reinforcing starting right here at the front on these front springs. So if you see vehicles that do have these reinforced struts here, then it's highly likely that there had once been a 106. Standard engine underneath, Go Devil, petrol side valve, nothing particular to call out there, but if we move back down the side of the vehicle you'll start to notice some key differences. I'm watching out for my head because the barrel's here and I don't want to clonk myself. We start with the fuel can. So this is a French fuel can. You can recognise this by the wider neck opening, and that is because inside, if this one does open, the breather tube, no, it's a bit stiff, the breather tube is on the outside. If you want to come in and have a look, the breather tube's actually on the outside of the spout rather than the inside of the American, German and English design. This meant that this could actually pour very quickly. It's the same for the spare wheel. The spare wheel is now mounted on the passenger side as well because it's not on the back. Of an interesting note, if you look on the inside, and I don't know how clearly we can see this, but here you get quite a bit of extra reinforcing to take the vibration of this wheel as it drives along. So that's a really good sign that this is an original 106 SR. We have a windscreen. It's a solid one-piece windscreen. It's not actually split, and you can see that the barrel actually protrudes through the windscreen during transport. To assist with the transport, there is a lock here to hold the barrel in place, quite distinctive. And if you would like to look at the dashboard, you can note that there is a reinforcing plate here as well. So that's another good sign that this is an original 106 SR, and you may find other Jeeps that have these holes, corresponding holes, because they once had that in place. Moving towards the back, you will notice, unlike on the Hotchkiss Jeep, we don't actually have our roof sticks over the top, and there is no roof because we need access to the gun. And here we have a tie-down point. So again, a clear indication this is the original 106 SR, and this would help stabilise the vehicle during firing. Also, if we have a look inside, now this might be quite difficult, I don't know if you'll be able to see in here, we'll come around the back and have another look in the moment. The shock absorber usually is vertically mounted vertically on the Hotchkiss M201, but in this case it's now mounted at an oblique angle, and that's so there's no protrusion inside the body of the Jeep. So we'll have a closer look at that around the back. Moving again around the vehicle, we have here, which is part of the rear stabilisation tripod that the gun's actually mounted on. This is actually, there's a catch here, this longitudinal one, and that secures the back leg here against the corner of the Hotchkiss. The Hotchkiss itself has been reinforced here, so it's much thicker metal, and as you can see, it's been cut at the back and the rear panel's been removed. Because of this reinforcing to take this weight of the gun, it means that they've had to mount the lights externally, so they're not recessed anymore and they're actually brought out. Very straightforward along the back, this cutout. It's great that they've still kept the number plate light here without moving that, and nothing really more to call out. But what we will try and do now is we're going to go and see that coil suspension that we've got on the rear axle, because it had to take this additional weight. So if you come on down, Ollie, and see if we can have a look. I'm going to roll in under here. So here we have the bottom of the coil suspension. It's a simple attachment that's bolted onto the chassis and goes vertically. So that gives an extra stability on the back of the vehicle because of the weight it's carrying. Looking in the back of the vehicle here, you can see we obviously have the gun mounted, and then below that are a number of the shells. So this being the recoilless rifle, you can see that there's actually perforations in the cartridges of the rounds, and that's to allow the gas to escape and blow backwards. Because of the size of the gun, people do ask, surely when it fired it would have pushed that or tipped that vehicle over. The fact is, because it is recoilless, then there is, well, in some cases just as much force travelling to the rear of the gun as it was coming out the front. So here we are around the business end of the 106. We've gathered a willing volunteer who's going to load it for us. So we'll go through the loading procedure on the gun, if you follow me. On the rear here, this is where the exhaust gases come out to balance the gun through these vents here. To open the back is a very simple pushing down and unopen. You will see here how these ribs here mesh into this part of the breech to keep it in place. So if we could call over our willing volunteer who will load around for us. Okay, quite a simple process and quite a large round. So what we'll do now is we'll take it back out. So it's pressing down on the lever, pulling open the breech block, and our willing volunteer can replace the round back in the rack. This is a deactivated gun. It's been deactivated to UK specifications, but we're just going to have a little closer look here at how this meshes when the rear door is shut. So we're pushing across, we're pressing down, and then we move to the front. And as you can see, we're starting to mesh here. There we go, and that's in the lock position. So to open, down and back, you can see it unmeshing, and that enables us to open. Going to look at how we operate the gun. So our willing volunteer again is in the Jeep, and let's go around and join him. We've lowered the windscreen because we're going to be moving the barrel and we don't want to collide with that. And our willing volunteer now is sat in this very cramped position right next to the gun. So there is an elevation. So at the moment the operator is elevating the gun, I'm depressing the gun, and that is using the control here. Now what you will notice, on top of the main barrel is a spotting gun. This is a 50 caliber single shot, and that would have tracer rounds held in this magazine, and an initial shot would be set off through this weapon that would hopefully go onto target, and then we knew where we were roughly pointing for this gun to be fired towards it. So this is really a rudimentary aiming device firing tracer rounds. You will also notice as the operator is now starting to look through the prismatic gun sight, and again he's trying to get onto target. So this is the upwards and downwards rotation. Over here centrally you can actually see the left and right rotation, which is a wheel that's operating on a horizontal axis. There we go. Now remember, when that gun's fired, we've got an enormous amount of hot exhaust gases coming out the back of this gun, and you really do not want to be near it. So you would have to retire away from the vehicle if you were the crew to make sure you didn't get singed. I do feel sorry for our operator here, as he had to stay with the gun while it was fired. So one hell of a bang, lots of gas out the front, lots of gas out the rear, lots of dust in the air, and this whole vehicle would have been shaken. Whilst we were making the video about this lovely Jeep, I did notice one thing. It shows you that this has been in service, and that's on the steering wheel. Over here, bored Jeep drivers would use their bayonets to carve out a notch on the steering wheel of the Jeep that they were assigned to. And these here show the corresponding months of the national service. So this chap was doing national service for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Goodness, he didn't make the end of his year, so something happened to him. But if you do have a Jeep and you notice these notches, especially on the steering wheel, then that's an indication that it's been in the French army and it was driven by a conscript. Well, a national service individual. Back of the vehicle again, and our willing volunteer has gone away for a cup of coffee, and I think he needs it after operating such a large weapon. He was sat here, which one would describe as a Dickie seat. So this was a small seat that was attached on the inner arch of the Jeep, and he was afforded a grab handle right here in which he could hang on for dear life as this was driving cross country. Looking down inside, we can see there is a front wheel. One can describe this as a wheelbarrow. What actually happens is you release the rear arms of the gun and you're able to extract it off of the back of the vehicle. It could then be placed in a sustained fire position off of the Jeep and used as such. But I can assure you we have taken this gun off of this Jeep, and it took 5 grown men to lift it, so you really want to leave it where it is. Again, moving down the side of the vehicle with more tie-down points, we have the coil suspension inside that I spoke about earlier, and coming round to the front, we're back in the familiar territory of the Hotchkiss Jeep. So, in conclusion, what a lovely piece of kit. Great to drive, a little bit top heavy, so we need to be careful on the corners. A great difference to see in a lineup of Jeeps, to see one still with a gun in the back. So thanks for watching. See, it's on my mind. I've been camping for 2 days and we need some washing done. Thanks for watching, and come back to our next video. Please subscribe and we can make loads more of this content for you.